Carlos Ghosn, KBE is a French-Lebanese-Brazilian businessman born in Porto Velho, Brazil, who is currently the chairman and CEO of Paris-based Renault, chairman and CEO of Japan-based Nissan, and chairman of Russian automobile manufacturer AvtoVAZ. Ghosn is also chairman and CEO of the Renault-Nissan Alliance, the strategic partnership overseeing Nissan and Renault through a unique cross-shareholding agreement. The alliance, which includes AvtoVAZ, has held approximately 10% of the global market share from 2010 through to 2014, and as of 2014 is one of the top 4 automobile groups worldwide. After his radical restructuring of Renault that returned that company to profitability in the late 1990s, Ghosn became known as Le Cost Killer. In the early 2000s, for orchestrating one of the auto industry's most aggressive downsizing campaigns and spearheading the turnaround of Nissan from its near bankruptcy in 1999, he earned the nickname Mr. Fix-It. Following the Nissan financial turnaround, in 2002 Fortune awarded him Asia Businessman of the Year. In 2003 Fortune identified him as one of the 10 most powerful people in business outside the US, and its Asian edition voted him Man of the Year. Surveys jointly published by the Financial Times and PricewaterhouseCoopers named him the 4th most respected business leader in 2003, and the 3rd most respected business leader in 2004 and in 2005. He quickly achieved celebrity status in Japan and in the business world, and his life has been chronicled in a Japanese manga comic book. Ghosn has been asked to run at least 2 other automakers, General Motors and Ford. His decision to spend $4 billion so Renault and Nissan could jointly develop an entire lineup of electric cars including the Nissan Leaf, billed as the world's first affordable zero-emission car, is one of the 4 subjects of the 2011 documentary Revenge of the Electric Car. Early life and education. Ghosn's grandfather Bichara Ghosn emigrated from Lebanon to Brazil at the age of 13, eventually settling in remote Guapora copyright, Rondônia, near the border between Brazil and Bolivia. Bichara Ghosn was an entrepreneur and eventually headed several companies, in fields including the rubber trade, the sale and purchase of agricultural products, and aviation. His son Jorge Ghosn married a Nigerian-born woman whose family also came from Lebanon, and they settled in the Rondônia capital of Porto Velho. Carlos Ghosn was born on March 9, 1954 in Porto Velho. When he was about 2 years old he became sick after drinking unsanitary water, and his mother moved with him to Rio de Janeiro. He did not fully recover there, and in 1960, when Ghosn was 6 years old, he and his mother and sister moved to Beirut, Lebanon, where his grandmother lived. Ghosn completed his secondary school studies in Lebanon, at the Jesuit school Collège Notre Dame de Jamhur. He then completed his classes Pra Copyright Baratoires in Paris, at the Collège Stanislas and the Liquor Copyright Saint Louis. He graduated with university engineering degrees from the École Polytechnique in 1974 and the École des Mines de Paris in 1978. Career from Michelin to Renault. After graduation in 1978, Ghosn spent 18 years at Michelin, Europe's largest tire maker, initially training and working in several plants in France and Germany. In 1981, he became plant manager in Le Feuille-en-Velay, France. In 1984 he was named head of research and development for the company's industrial tire division. In 1985, when Ghosn was 30 years old, he was appointed Chief Operating Officer of Michelin, a Euro-unregistered trademark South American operations. He returned to Rio de Janeiro, reporting directly to Frena Section 1 Michelin, who tasked Ghosn with turning around the operation, which was unprofitable and struggling under Brazil's hyperinflation. Ghosn formed cross-functional management teams to determine best practices among the French, Brazilian, and other nationalities working in the South American division. The multicultural experience in Brazil formed the basis of his cross-cultural management style and emphasis on diversity as a core business asset. You learn from diversity. But you're comforted by commonality, Ghosn has said. The division returned to profitability in 2 years. After turning around Michelin's South American operations, Ghosn was appointed president and COO of Michelin North America in 1989, and moved to Greenville, South Carolina with his family. He was promoted to CEO of Michelin North America in 1990. He presided over the restructuring of the company after its acquisition of the Uniroyal Goodrich Tire Company. In 1996, the ailing French auto manufacturer Renault recruited Ghosn as executive vice president in charge of purchasing, advanced research, engineering and development, powertrain operations, and manufacturing. And he was also in charge of Renault's Euro 1 registered trademark South American division, located in the Mercosur. Ghosn's radical restructuring of Renault successfully returned the company to profitability in 1997. Nissan and the Renault-Nissan Alliance. In March 1999, Renault and Nissan formed the Renault-Nissan Alliance, and in May 1999 Renault purchased a 36.8% stake in Nissan. While maintaining his roles at Renault, Ghosn joined Nissan as its chief operating officer in June 1999, became its president in June 2000, and was named chief executive officer in June 2001. When he joined the company, Nissan had a consolidated interest-bearing net automotive debt of more than $20 billion, and only 3 of its 46 models sold in Japan were generating a profit. Reversing the company's sinking fortunes was considered nearly impossible. Ghosn's Nissan Revival Plan, announced in October 1999, called for a return to profitability in fiscal year 2000, a profit margin in excess of 4.5% of sales by the end of fiscal year 2002, and a 50% reduction in the current level of debt by the end of fiscal year 2002. Ghosn promised to resign if these goals were not met. Ghosn's Nissan Revival Plan called for cutting 21,000 Nissan jobs, mostly in Japan. Shutting 5 Japanese plants. Reducing the number of suppliers and shareholdings. And auctioning off prized assets such as Nissan's aerospace unit. Ghosn was the 4th non-Japanese person to lead a Japanese automaker, after Mark Fields, Henry Wallace, and James Miller were appointed by Ford to run Mazda in the late 1990s. In addition to cutting jobs, plants, and suppliers, Ghosn spearheaded major and dramatic structural and corporate culture changes at Nissan. He defied Japanese business etiquette in various ways, including by eliminating seniority-based and age-based promotion, by changing lifetime employment from a guarantee to a desired goal for when the company achieved high performance, and by dismantling Nissan's Keiretsu system, an interwoven web of parts suppliers with cross-holdings in Nissan. When the Nissan Revival Plan was announced, the proposed dismantling of Keiretsu earned Ghosn the nickname Keiretsu Killer, and the Wall Street Journal quoted a Dresdner Kleinwert Benson analyst in Tokyo as saying Ghosn might become a target of public outrage if Nissan threw former affiliates out of its supply chain. Ghosn changed Nissan's official company language from Japanese to English, and included executives from Europe and North America in key global strategy sessions for the first time. In the first year of the Nissan Revival Plan, Nissan's consolidated net profit after tax climbed to $2.7 billion for fiscal year 2000, from a consolidated net loss of $6.46 billion in the previous year. 12 months into his 3-year turnaround plan, Nissan had returned to profitability, and within 3 years it was one of the industry's most profitable automakers, with operating margins consistently above 9% a year, or more than twice the industry average. The goals of the Nissan Revival Plan were all reached before March 31, 2002. In May 2002, Ghosn announced his next set of goals for the company, Nissan 180, a 3-year plan for growth based on the numbers 1, 8, and 0. By the end of September 2005, Nissan planned to increase its global sales by 1 million vehicles. And by the spring of 2005 it was committed to achieving an operating margin of at least 8% and reducing its net automotive debt to 0. These goals were all reached. In the spring of 2003, Nissan announced that its net automotive debt was eliminated in fiscal year 2002. Nissan's operating profit margin climbed to 11.1% in fiscal year 2003. It had been 1.4% in fiscal year 1999. In October 2005, Nissan announced that its annual sales from September 30, 2004 to September 30, 2005 were more than 3.67 million, up from the 2.6 million vehicles sold in the fiscal year ended March 2002. In May 2005, Ghosn was named President and Chief Executive Officer of Renault. When he assumed the CEO roles at both Renault and Nissan, Ghosn became the world's first person to run two companies on the Fortune Global 500 simultaneously. In 2005, billionaire investor Kirk Kerkorian acquired a 9.9% stake in General Motors and seated one of his representatives on the company's board, then urged GM to investigate a merger with Renault and Nissan, with Ghosn as the new chairman of GM. In 2006, GM's embattled management rebuffed the takeover attempt, and by the end of the year, Kerkorian's Tresenda Corporation sold most of its GM stock. In 2006, Ford Motor Company made Ghosn a formal offer to lead the company, according to the book American Icon, Alan Mulally and the Fight to Save Ford Motor Company by Bryce Hoffman. Ghosn refused, reportedly saying the only way he would come to the struggling company was if he was named both the CEO and chairman of the board. Bill Ford Jr. refused to give up his chairmanship. In 2007, Ghosn led the Renault-Nissan Alliance into the mass-market zero-emission electric car markets in a major way, and committed a $4 billion to the effort. In 2008, he confirmed that Nissan Renault would bring an entire lineup of zero-emission electric cars to the worldwide market by 2012. In 2009, he told the University of Pennsylvania's Wharton School of Business, "If you're going to let developing countries have as many cars as they want and they're going to have as many cars as they want one way or another there is no absolutely alternative but to go for zero emissions. And the only zero emissions vehicle available today is electric, so we decided to go for it." The Nissan Leaf, an electric car billed as the world's first affordable zero-emission car, debuted in December 2010. In 2008, Ghosn was named Chairman, President, and CEO of Nissan. In 2009 he was named Chairman and CEO of Renault. Ghosn was a visible leader in recovery efforts after the Japanese earthquake and tsunami on March 11, 2011, one of the worst natural disasters in modern history. On March 29, 2011, he made the first of several visits to the hard-hit Iwaki engine plant in Fukushima Prefecture, 50 kilometers from the Fukushima Daiichi nuclear power plant, and at his direction Nissan restored full operations at the Iwaki factory well ahead of expectations. He appeared on television in Japan to encourage optimism. In May 2011, Ghosn remained committed to building at least 1 million of Nissan's cars and trucks in Japan annually. In June 2012, Ghosn was named Deputy Chairman of the Board of Directors of Russian automobile manufacturer AvtoVAZ. In June 2013 he was appointed Chairman of the Russian company. Renault had begun a strategic partnership with AvtoVAZ in 2008 by acquiring a 25% stake in the company. This led to increasingly deeper partnerships between Renault-Nissan and AvtoVAZ, ending in Renault-Nissan Alliance control of the Russian automaker in 2014. Advisorships Ghosn served on the International Advisory Board of Brazilian bank Banco Itaú until 2015. He is also a member of the advisory board of Tsinghua University School of Economics and Management in Beijing. He has received an honorary doctorate from American University of Beirut. And he is a member of the Strategic Council, St. Joseph University of Beirut. In May 2014, he was elected president of the European Automobile Manufacturers Association. He serves as governor of the World Economic Forum. Personality: Ghosn, whom Forbes magazine called the hardest working man in the brutally competitive global car business, splits his time between Paris and Tokyo and logs roughly 150,000 miles in airplanes per year. Japanese media have called him 7-Eleven. He holds both Brazilian and French citizenships. He has been noted for his direct, no-nonsense, results-oriented and execution-oriented style in business strategy meetings, but also for his interest in resolving problems from within a company by listening to workers and by cross-functional and cross-cultural team groupings. Ghosn is multilingual and speaks 4 languages fluently: French, Portuguese, English, and Arabic, and he has also studied Japanese. He also maintains ties to Lebanon, where he lived for 10 years and where he completed his primary and secondary education. He is a partner in Iqsa, a winery in the northern coastal town of Batroun, Lebanon. In 2012 he was named to the honorary board of the American Foundation of St. George Hospital in Beirut. Ghosn has been hailed as a potential presidential candidate in Lebanon. In a June 2011 survey by life insurance company AXA, Ghosn was ranked number 7 in a random poll asking Japanese people, "Which celebrity do you want to run Japan?" He has so far declined such overtures, saying he has no political ambitions. Ghosn is the divorced father of 4 grown children. He has residences in France, Japan, and Brazil. In the media. Beginning in November 2001, Ghosn's life story was turned into a superhero comic book series in Japan, titled The True Story of Carlos Ghosn, in the manga comic book Big Comic Superior. The series was published as a book in 2002. Ghosn also has a Japanese bento box named after him on the menus at some Tokyo restaurants. Bento boxes are popular with businessmen, students, and others who want a quick lunch. The Financial Times called the Carlos Ghosn bento a measure of the extraordinary rise of Mr. Ghosn in Japan that he should be deemed worthy enough to eat. The Japanese take their food seriously and do not welcome foreign intrusions. As such, the Ghosn bento could be seen as a Japanese way of bestowing acceptance upon him. Ghosn is the subject of a number of books in English, Japanese, and French. In English, he wrote a best-selling business book called Shift, Inside Nissan's Historic Revival. He was the subject of another business book called Turnaround, How Carlos Ghosn Rescued Nissan by David Mugi. He also provided strategic business commentary and on-the-job lessons to aspiring managers in a book called The Ghosn Factor, 24 Inspiring Lessons from Carlos Ghosn, the most successful transnational CEO by Miguel Rivas Micaud. Ghosn's quest to develop Nissan's line of zero-emission electric cars is one of the 4 subjects of the 2011 documentary Revenge of the Electric Car. The zero-emission Nissan Leaf, which Nissan began delivering in late 2010 in the United States and Japan, is the world's first mass-produced zero-emission electric vehicle. Ghosn authorized more than $5 billion to bring the Leaf, and numerous derivative electric cars based on the Leaf's architecture, to market. A gamble that prompted Business Week to ask whether he was crazy. Ghosn is a frequent subject of university thesis papers and essays among business students. Cyber Essays is a section dedicated to papers about Ghosn's corporate leadership. One of the more commonly cited thesis papers is the June 2005 MBA thesis written by Koji Nakao of the MIT Sloan School of Management, which compares Ghosn to U.S. General Douglas MacArthur, who restructured Japanese society after World War II. Awards and recognition. As a result of his achievements, Ghosn has had numerous awards and honors bestowed upon him. Some of these include: in 2002 Fortune awarded him Asia Businessman of the Year. In 2003, he was named Man of the Year by Fortune magazine's Asian edition. In 2003 Fortune listed him as one of the 10 most powerful business leaders outside the U.S. In 2004, he was added to the Automotive Hall of Fame. In 2004, he was also added to the Japan Automotive Hall of Fame. In October 2006, Ghosn was made an honorary Knight Commander of the Order of the British Empire. In 2010, CEO Quarterly magazine listed Ghosn as one of the most respected CEOs. In November 2011, CNBC listed Ghosn as Asia Business Leader of the Year. In June 2012, Ghosn received the Japan Society Award. In October 2012, Ghosn became the first person in the auto industry, and the fourth overall, to win a Lifetime Achievement Award from the Strategic Management Society, a non-profit group that promotes ethical and strategic business stewardship. In October 2012, Ghosn was awarded the Grand Cross of the Order of Isabella the Catholic, an honorific designation to civilians in recognition of services that benefit Spain. In 2013, he was appointed an International Fellow of the Royal Academy of Engineering. References: Ghosn, Carlos. Shift, Inside Nissan's Historic Revival. Crown Publishing Group, 2007. Notes